sure what real differences there are between the United States and Israel.
Culturally, you mean?
Well, culturally, whatever. But I'm looking at it as Israel as, especially when you start getting to the upper layers of the elite. It seems like the countries are immaterial. The people in the countries are really immaterial. The job of the government is no longer the protection of the people. It's the protection of this smaller and smaller group of elite. And I think that what I glean from this, and what I think about when I think about the New World Order is that there the differences between all the masses that are up for extinction and this growing elite. And at this level, what difference is there between Israel, the United States, and the players?
Has this country ever really cared about protecting its people? I don't even see if that's been in our past, Kathy. I mean, look at the number of wars you've been involved in and who fights the wars. It's just ongoing. I had a little problem with his glamorization of not just Alex Jones, but the people in the Kennedy. Kennedy escalated the war in Vietnam. He escalated the war in Vietnam. And also when I forget, the George guy with the long gray hair, what was his name? I think it was him that mentioned 40 million Russians killed. I mean, suddenly it's doubled now. It's gone from 20 million to 40 million. And I've read, I'll bring a copy of it in for each of you, that the demographics scientists have studied the population of Russia, and the demographics don't pan out that even 20 million people were killed. If they killed 6 million, that's terrible. But that's the same number that 20 million Russians were killed in the war, or what, Tim?
Yeah, so 20, not 40,
so we kind of pick these figures sometimes, and they get carried on, and so I've never heard 40 million before.
From what I researched, it's 20, and I've done a fair amount for a layperson of research into it, and that's my consensus as well.
These
20.
numbers are always exaggerated.
But what's your research into the numbers? I mean, is it just another writer regurgitating
just writer
the same
after
figure?
writer after writer
That's
regurgitating?
right, but you trace it back, and
Right.
then
Like
where the numbers start,
Mm-hmm.
6 million Jews died, that's exaggerated. You don't know what to believe.
Right.
But I mean, I totally agree that we've got a puppet in the White House, and although he did say when he was running for office, he did say he was going to escalate the war in Afghanistan. So that shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody. You know, they brought it up.
Well, he said that Pakistan was a threat, yeah, but he didn't state that.
No,
he was
I
going to
just
go in
said
there.
Afghanistan.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I was confused.
He did say that, and Alex Jones or somebody brought it up as though that was, something that he hadn't said.
During the debates, he said to Pakistan with Hillary.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Definitely, I remember Afghanistan.
We mentioned that he didn't talk about the birth certificate issue, and he also just didn't talk about his family. Obama's
His brother,
quote family. His mother.
brother.
His grandparents, his growing up in Hawaii, any of that stuff was like complete. I remember when he was being selected for the primaries, just Googling the questions about his family and like all sorts of. I mean, his mother in particular was probably CIA or FBI. She was some sort of agent probably, and so it makes Obama's exact existence very questionable. Everybody in his past is dead. How many presidents don't have any relatives still alive? I mean, that's a very odd state of affairs to like have not a single relative. I guess Kenyan, sort of distant Kenyan family, except that they're not really his family, but which is probably why they're still in poverty and everything else.
And they didn't mention his drug use or with Larry Sinclair.
Right.
That stuff.
Can you give some details on that? The whole drug use. I mean, if someone's on the internet and they're watching this now, can you tell them what to Google to find that kind of stuff?
Well, Larry Sinclair said that he had drugs with Obama.
Okay.
And and he wasn't going to mention anything, but then he saw him give a speech where he said he stopped taking drugs like in the 80s, and he knew that was a lie because he shared drugs with him.
Cool.
Like in Chicago. And then in Larry Sinclair's church, not Larry Sinclair's church, but Obama's church, the choir director was murdered, and then another homosexual man was also murdered, so they think Obama was having relations with him. I think
Relations. Okay. Thanks.
Well, there's obviously a lot that he left out, and we could really speculate as to why. And I'd really like to continue that, but based on like what he did put in and what we have found, it looks like we've got like a really big problem. And we've had a problem for a long time, but we have a really big problem because I agree with KRS-One that we were on the verge of something breaking loose. And I think if, like, by chance, if McCain had gotten in, I think the country would have gone into an absolute revolution.